Hey, what's up? Of course, Andy's here. Hi, Andy. Thank you for joining. Marilyn, welcome. This is awesome. You guys, I haven't done a live stream since last summer, and just a few minutes ago, I was getting so pumped about finally being back to doing this. So I want to make time for regular Q&A sessions. I want to make time for doing more specific trainings. So walking y'all through a particular process of mine, how I like to approach something when it comes to blogging, content creation, writing. We can get into the nitty gritty details, how to do research on the right keyword phrases, how to send outreach emails to build your backlink profile. So the possibilities are endless. I would love to hear any topics that you would like to see me do a live training on. And in the meantime, for this session, this one is a pretty unstructured Q&A. I'm here to answer any questions you got. So Marilyn, if you have a question, please drop one into the comments. I would love to hear from anyone who's able to join us live today. I know there's not going to be a ton of us that could make this one, but if you have a question, would love to answer it live. And I've been collecting questions throughout the last week or so. I've got around a dozen already from y'all that are going to be tuning in, watching the recording, who couldn't make it. So thank you for that. Marcus, what's up? Sober Coffee, hey, thank you for joining. Real quick before we dive into the Q&A, where are you guys tuning in from today? Tell me, drop a comment. I'm in Colorado. I just finished kind of getting my studio here set up, and I just moved here. I left LA last fall and did some traveling, landed in the mountains of Colorado. So I'm in a small town called Salida. We just got some snow last night. I can see these snow-capped mountains just on the other side of my screen here. Nice. Sober Coffee Mike. All right. Cool. So you guys, please do continue dropping in comments, questions throughout the session. There's no wrong question you could ask. There's just wrong answers that I can give you. So I want to go ahead and get started. Marcus in Memphis. Ooh, Mike, Chicago. Yes. Maryland and Dallas. So we've got a little bit of a delay here. I can sense this. But no worries. Thank you guys. Tavis, yes. Love to see this. Kelsey in Memphis. Oh, man. Multiple Memphis people. What's going on here? Rima in Dublin. What? Thank you for joining. This is awesome. Jeff Scottsdale. Cool. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Lisa, yes. Oh, man. I love to see familiar faces. This is awesome. All right, y'all. I want to dive into the Q&A session. There's no wrong question to ask. Ask at any time. If anything comes up, please just flag it in the comments or ask it as a question. So I saw we had one question already. Marilyn, thank you. Okay, so how do you find someone to create and post your site or blog online? I love this. Let's see. I'm figuring out. Here we go. Marilyn, how do you find someone to create and post your site/blog online? Perfect. Okay. So, this is a challenging one because for me, I'm pretty biased here. I learned how to build websites when I was younger. I mean, talking very basic stuff here, WordPress blogs. I learned how to do that when I was younger. So I'm coming from this, I just want to be clear, from a place of already having that experience. Now, I think there's a first question you should answer for yourself, Marilyn. Number one, do you want to go through the process of kind of beating your head against the wall, learning how to build a site and just make it a fun game? If you can actually turn that into something that you can have fun with and learn, do the slow process of figuring out how, say, WordPress works, or if you go with a Squarespace, Wix, Weebly blog, you may want to consider one of the site builders. So think of those kinds of sites as like the easy way to set up a website or a blog without learning how to really get in and tinker with templates in WordPress. Now, I'm also pretty biased that WordPress is the best place to build a website, a blog, an audience, and scale it online and build a repeatable kind of system for acquiring users through SEO, getting people to monetize with you. I think, some of the other platforms can lock you into some monetization capabilities and won't be as flexible on driving traffic, especially if SEO is going to be important to you. So all things to keep in mind, but I really think that you should take the time to go through learning how to build your version 1 of your site. Doesn't have to be perfect, yourself. That's going to be a really valuable skill. It's going to mean that in the future, you won't have as many questions. You'll be able to figure out stuff on your own. And I have a feeling if you give this a shot for even just an hour or two, it'll start to feel a lot easier than maybe it is when it's built up in your mind. And that may not be the case, but that's how I experience a lot of these new skills that I learn. But if you are dead set on wanting to find someone to help you build that, I know that there are really good online communities out there for posting jobs, but I wouldn't turn to like an Upwork or a Fiverr as my first go round. I'd go to a more curated community of developers, and one that, I host my blog on Kinsta, Kinsta. And Kinsta has, I believe, what they call a developer partner community. If you just Google search Kinsta partner network, I think it's called, then I believe that is a free to join, free to post, easy way to find people who are talented developers who could help you with building out your WordPress site or something like that. So start with those kinds of communities before going to Upwork. Okay. I spent a long time on that question, so I want to keep this moving. Let me see if any of y'all got questions here in the chat. Please keep them coming. This is awesome. Okay, Jeff, what is the best way? Let's bring you to the broadcast. Here we go. All right, Jeff, what is the best way to create SEO in an informative industry blog post? Interesting question, Jeff. Thank you for asking. So I'm going to interpret this as, how do you optimize a blog post within a particular niche? And without a clear example, this will get a little bit, Andy, thank you for dropping that in the comments. Without a clear example, this will get a little bit theoretical with us here. So I think I'm actually going to take an example and let's just do some live playing around here. So, Jeff, let's do an example that I'm going to make up on the fly. Let's see how this goes. So I'm going to pop over here to my screen. Let's show you, this is WriteBlogger. So Andy, who's in the chat, and we built this platform. There's over 65 different tools for bloggers in here. Almost all of them you can use for free, though the free plan's a little limited, but we've built these to be essentially the tools that we wish we had when we started blogging, and they're available for a super budget if you want to unlock all of them. That is the pitch. That's the only pitch you're getting today. So over here in the keyword research tool, this one is also, it's free to use. Please give it a shot if you want to give it a try. Just writeblogger.com. Once you create an account, you'll have ability to use all these tools. So let's go through an example. Let's say that I have a cycling blog, since cycling is right here, and I want to produce cycling tips. I want to produce an article that is going to rank for something like cycling tips, how to become a better cycler, things like that. But I'm not really sure what I want the topic to be yet. So I'll use this little magic button in our keyword research tool, and it comes up with a bunch of AI suggested topics to go along with this. So safety, gear, training, maintenance. Cool. Now, my intention here is to gather some quick ideas on what we could blog about in this space. I'm going to choose an example. Seems we're mixing our answers here. I love this. Lots of stuff related to dogs. That's so funny. Let's see. So I've got a different version of this keyword tool that's also free right here. So let's see if we get an example here that works well for us. And I see we're moving a little slow here. Awesome. These tools, oh my gosh, no data for this one. Okay, let's just try cycling. Okay. So, cycling injuries, that's an interesting one. Let's just, for the sake of being quick here, everybody, let's choose cycling injuries. So if I wanted to produce an article on what are common cycling injuries, I'll choose this one. I'll say, hey, this one has enough keyword research to support enough search volume. And then I'll quickly generate a title, figure out how I want to approach this topic. So, I'd say I'd choose something like this, the common cycling injuries, and maybe I'd say 5. And then I'd go and research the 5 most common cycling injuries out there. And let's assume if I have a cycling blog that I probably know what those injuries are, or maybe I've had them myself already. So always think about these topic ideas that you're choosing from the perspective of weaving in your own life's experiences. Hopefully that's the case given that you're in a niche industry yourself. And what you'll do from here is you'll want to research just in a Google search. So since we got my screen up, cycling injuries, you'll want to see how other people are approaching this topic. That's the foundation of SEO, is finding the way that you can stand out from the pack of everything else that's already ranking here, blended with seeing what Google already thinks the right answers are, the best answers they can come up with for these kinds of topics. So as you can see here, Google pulls in some quick results right here. Knee pain, neck pain, back injuries, saddle sores, road rash, right? So some really specific industry terms. Those are going to be really good SEO tidbits to pull into your article. So when you're considering how many common injuries to fit on this list, be real about it. If you have that knowledge yourself, say, hey, these are what the common injuries are. Don't just make up, 20 of them for the sake of there are that many possible injuries you could have. So good SEO is this blend of hitting your best practices and also knowing what you need to do in order to actually stand out and be interesting and be real. But Jeff, what I'd like to do is if you'll come back to another live stream, I'd love to take a post of yours, so a topic that you want to write about, and build that post out with you. We could do that on a live session together. Anyone else can join, participate, ask questions, but that'd be really fun. So if that sounds good, please drop me a message to ryan@writeblogger.com and we'll set something up. Okay, back to some more questions. Let's see. We got a James question. Here we go. What are the biggest opportunities to drive traffic to a blog in 2024? Okay, this is a good question. I think there's a lot of different opportunities you could do, and most people suffer from overwhelm and decision fatigue. So you look at this menu of 50 different ways you could get traffic to a blog. And sure, you could argue that all of them will work in certain use cases, definitely, and that I've seen a lot of them work. Now, for me, SEO is always going to be an underlying factor in how I want to drive traffic to my blog. Since my site has been around for long enough, I just have a lot of capability to publish something within my niche, blogging, marketing, writing, content, and for it to quickly rank without putting in a ton of effort. So that's a channel that for me makes a lot of sense. I also have a lot of experience optimizing content for SEO. So take an inventory of what your own strengths are, where you actually derive interest. So do you like writing? Do you like being on video? Do you like having a microphone and maybe starting a podcast? There are seriously so many opportunities. Social media, if you like to just flip on your front camera and do some quick vids for social media, there's a lot of opportunities, right? And there's no wrong answer other than finding that blend between what you derive joy and interest in as far as how you create and how you share it with what is working well online already. And some of the stuff that's working best right now that I see is YouTube, TikTok, right? The short form video content seems to be really, really huge still. This has been the case for years. And what I'm doing right now as an experiment, the month of February, I'm doing a challenge called F29. I see a lot of familiar faces that I know came from that group. So thank you. I'm making 29 videos this month. And I'm doing a mix of longer form content for YouTube because every now and then a YouTube video that I publish will get thousands to tens of thousands of views. And it's not that difficult if you're consistent, if you show up and just produce content that genuinely helps people. Doesn't have to look perfect, doesn't have to have the best microphone in the world. It just needs to communicate value to people. If you communicate value over video well, and you just show up, you commit to, I'm going to do this every single day, or, whatever works with your schedule. I'm going to do this once a week for the next month and see how it feels. You'll get better at it. You'll learn. There are so many tools for editing videos that make this very easy. There's AI-powered stuff that'll pretty much automatically do a quick edit for videos. So it's never been easier, if you feel the call towards video, to lean into that channel. And YouTube Shorts can be a great place. YouTube, more the landscape style video, not social media stuff, for longer form content. And really consider TikTok. TikTok's a good one, but think about where your audience is too. So as with all things, I suppose, James, the answer is it depends. I love this. Okay. Kelsey, we got a question. Realistically, how many blog posts per week should we aim to post? Let me pull you up on screen. Here we go. How many blog posts per week should we aim to post to gain traction with SEO strategy? I've seen a lot of numbers from various experts and it feels overwhelming. Yes. So Kelsey, to echo the same sentiment, it can feel overwhelming, but you have to really break this stuff down into baby steps. So what are the specific actions you can take to just publish one blog post that's well optimized for SEO per week, let's say? I would say once a week is a fantastic number to land at if you have the time, the energy to put in that kind of effort and really deliver meaningful content. And what I say when I talk about meaningful content, I mean something that when another person reads it or watches it, if you're making videos first, they feel something. They feel connected to you. They feel like this is real and meaningful. And they get something real when they walk away from reading that post, watching that video. So think about the takeaway that you want for someone, and then dive into, your creation process. If it's writing, then once you have written your article and you have like that feeling, okay, this feels good, then it's time to optimize it. But if you can do one a week, that's amazing. More than that, like, the sky's the limit, sure, if you're working on this full time. But I don't think you'll get a ton more extra return from the SEO play, which is a long-term play, thinking about a time frame of 3 to 6 months from when you publish an article to when you can hit the first page of Google, especially if you're not able to dedicate a ton of time to promoting that content and maybe writing guest posts, building links back to it, right? So there's a lot here. I don't think that doing more than one, maybe two a week is going to be worthwhile for SEO. You'll have much better chance of getting results if you publish one a week, and then you also publish maybe a guest post a month or 2 guest posts a month and link back to those articles on your site that you want to build links and build traffic to. Okay, I'm long-winded today, everybody. Thank you for hanging with me. Let's see. All right, Brian's got a question. How do you create a blog post outline? Okay, so I have the perfect tool for this because this is genuinely how I tend to do this these days. I like to outline posts myself when I have a strong conviction about what that topic is and how I know I want to approach it. If I have a really strong take, then I'll typically just go through the process of literally bullet pointing, what are my takes on this? How do I feel? What are the exact steps that I would follow to do this thing? So I think there's a massive benefit you have by only creating content on topics that you genuinely know well. And that's a space that I've chosen to exist in for myself and in relation to my blog and all my other projects so that I know what I'm talking about at all times. And I have a gut take first on what the outline should be. But when that's not the case, or when I want a little help with an outline, we built this tool inside WriteBlogger, which you can use again for free. where we instantly generate a research-backed AI powered and SEO friendly outline to run with. So this gives me a starting point. So let's say I want to do how to make a WordPress plugin. I would add some really important keywords here. WordPress plugin is obviously a big one. Make WordPress plugin is probably better. And I think let's keep that as is. So tone, writing style, I'll choose the My Tone, which is a custom tone that I uploaded into WriteBlogger. We've got options for additional instructions, different language outputs, a ton of them. And let me just click generate here. So behind the scenes, our tools use OpenAI's API. So we're sending off this prompt that we've structured, Andy and I have built, that tells the AI, here's how to structure an SEO optimized outline for this topic. So here we go. Ultimate guide, crafting your own WordPress plugin like a pro. Okay. Benefits, examples. I like the examples a lot. So this is a really good one here. I would actually probably break this out into its own header 2 section, because I think that's so important for someone who's wanting to learn how to make a WordPress plugin. You know, you're probably relatively beginner at a skill like that. Seeing examples of good plugins would be really helpful to me. So planning, setting up a development environment, creating, adding functionality. This is a really extensive outline. This is awesome. Cool. Some good FAQs we've added to the bottom here too. So, okay, I like this. This is a really good start. So again, like thinking about how to take things out of your workflow that you don't love doing yourself. Outlining is not something that I absolutely love unless it's on a topic that I'm really passionate about and the outline just flows for me. So I will turn to AI tools. You can go directly to like ChatGPT or something too and get an outline that'll be helpful to start your writing process. But you know, we built these tools to solve the real problems we have. So please use them too if you identify with this. James. All right. We got two James. Two of my favorite Jameses actually are here today. This is awesome. Thank you guys. Organic search is great, but it takes time, especially for new sites. What are your recommendations for distributing content to get traffic before you have a ton of domain authority or inbound links? Hell yes. Great question. This is not an easy one to answer either, because all I have is my own lived collection of experiences at the end of the day and what I see working well with other sites and for companies and brands that I've worked with. So from my perspective, what I see as the absolute best thing to do is once you have a bit of a foundation of content on your own site, stuff that you feel proud of, that if you were to reach out to, you know, your biggest hero in your space and ask them to read your article, that you'd feel comfortable doing that. So putting that bar of I'm proud of my work on the things that you're creating for your site, maybe getting to a place of 10, 20, 30, 40 blog posts that you're really proud of. Start with that and then guest blogging like crazy. There's so many different tactics you could try, you know, hiring people to build links for you on Fiverr, Upwork. I would not do something like that. But at the end of the day, organic search rankings, your ability to rank high in Google search is directly connected to how much authority your website has. Google does not have a fantastic way to determine what the most authoritative, best article is on a particular topic, other than to look at what other websites say is a good answer to that question. And the way that you get on other websites, get links from them pointing towards your blog post that answers the question you want to rank for, is by guest blogging and doing outreach, building partnerships, making relationships with real people, not just making it super transactional and straight up asking for a link, but figuring out a way that you can provide value to those bloggers, those, you know, industry publications, those companies, startups that you reach out to and want to contribute to their website. So oftentimes blogs, especially with companies or individual creators, we need good content from people who know what they're talking about. So there is a genuine need for guest posts because you write this article for free. The person who's publishing your article gets quality content for free, which is a very special thing in the content space. And you, as the writer who contributed this free article, you get the ability to get in front of their audience. So choose these websites, these blogs very wisely. You want to get in front of your target audience and make sure that these sites have good domain authority. So again, going back to how Google decides what to rank, it really, really is related to links. They will tell you all day and night that you shouldn't build backlinks. Like, link building is a bad thing to do. But the reality is that is how they, in a large part, that is how they decide what gets ranked first. And of course, there's other considerations, content quality, your website loading quickly, things like that too. So you want to make sure that you're hitting those best practices. But at the end of the day, taking a detour after you have a solid foundation of content on your own site to do a guest blogging tour or do like a podcast interview tour, do a YouTube show tour, get on these websites where you're going to get links back to your homepage or to individual content pieces. That's really the only way to do this thing. Okay. All right. Real Truth Channel. This is a good question. Can I use my friend's email list to advertise my site, or is it a conflict? The question that you're asking, I think, is a very, very good strategy. So if you have a friend who is willing to send an email promoting, your article, your service, whatever it is you're offering to their email list because it is genuinely good, it's like a good service ad, it's a good value add to the people on their list, then that's an amazing strategy. Do that all day. Yes. As much as you can, I would say, like, use the audience of someone that that you have an existing relationship with. If that's your audience too, use that audience to test out your content, to workshop how to interact with people while you also get your stuff in front of them. I think that's a huge win-win-win for everyone. Those are the best kinds of partnerships to try and find. Okay, Lisa, such a good question. Longtail keywords. I love longtail keywords. I just published a really good in-depth video walking through some examples of longtail keywords on my YouTube channel, actually. So if you want to find that one, check it out. But yes, Lisa, how long does it take to rank for longtail keywords with little search, but great opportunity? Okay, I like this. The way that I interpret this question is a term that is not as competitive, but is very like high quality people coming to your website. And again, the benefit of longtail keywords is that you're targeting terms that are longer in nature. So the topic is more specific. Instead of something like, how to start a food blog, you would want to do something really, really detailed, like how to build a food blog website and publish plugins that help drive traffic. Like, there's a lot of really interesting, weird ways that you can take longtail keywords, but the goal is to get more specific with the topic at hand. And these are often very, very quick to rank for. The more specific you get, something like, I think about, let's go back to my keyword research tool to find an example, because I think this is a really good one. Okay, here we go. So let's say just blogging top line here. We've got a bunch of interesting stuff. Okay, so here's a good example. Content generator would be a way more competitive term than, say, free content generator for bloggers, right? That's an example of a long tail keyword phrase. And this particular long tail keyword phrase, it might be competitive, it might not be. But what I find is when I choose something like that's way more specific, I'm able to rank for it depending on, the age and the authority of a website that you're publishing on. Weeks. It can go as fast as 1 week, sometimes even days. So that's the benefit of pursuing long tail keywords. And we've spent enough time with this question. We've got a really good question. All right. So Kelsey, another one. I've noticed Google search results prioritizing Reddit threads more than blogs. Should we be concerned about that? I would say this is probably a short-term thing. Google is always trying out new stuff with their algorithm updates, and being in this industry now for over a decade, when I zoom out, I see tons of things like this. Change is just the name of the game. And so maybe for this 3-month period or 6-month period or 12-month period, who really knows how long it could last? It could be different by tomorrow when they push another algorithm update. But what I see is that it's best to consistently work on the strategies that you know drive results over the long term. And so SEO, that is one that over the past decade I've just seen consistently is always there. And it'll fluctuate, like other stuff will get bumped up like Quora and Reddit are right now, but I mean, that's going to change too. It'll get deprioritized. Maybe it'll come back. Who really knows? But I think you can find this balance of working on your foundational best practices and playing the game that Google decides is good in the moment. So you can see some really, I think, interesting things happen if you mix up your creation time and you spend, say, if you would have had, let's say, 2 articles you publish a week on your blog, maybe try for now publishing 1 article a week on your blog and answering like 5 Quora questions a week on the topic that your blog post is about. And see, just experiment. See like, hey, if I post on Reddit, which by the way, on Reddit and Quora, be careful about linking to your own site. Really only do that if you deliver extremely valuable information and then it feels right and natural towards the end to link to your blog or link to a post where you expand on it. But what I find is that self-promotion is not part of the ethos of these communities too much. But if you just consistently deliver really good value and you have these links to your websites in your bio, that's a super helpful thing too. Okay. Let's keep rolling. All right. Abikes, let's see. Do you have any tips for international bloggers with a USA target audience? That's a super interesting one. Okay, so I get curious. My default answer is to almost need to ask more questions, but I'm going to take your question at face value here. So let's assume that your website is on a .com. I'd say that's a pretty important caveat to all of this. Traditionally, what I see ranking well in Google search results for any question I ask or content that I'm seeking to learn something on, a .com ranks over a .co.uk if you're based in the UK, right? So knowing that you want to reach a US audience, make sure that your site looks and sounds and is technically set up to present as natural to the US audience. You don't have to trick people. That's not the point. You should be honest about where you're located, but that's not something you need to broadcast either. If you're genuinely providing value to an American-based or primary American audience, then I mean that's all that really matters. But I would say there's nuances to American English, even aside from just other countries' versions of English, right? And having someone who's a native US speaker proofread your posts, look at your blog post titles, look at your homepage, your landing pages, and make sure that the content flows and sounds natural is a pretty important thing to do if you don't have US native English speaking yourself, because there's so many just funky little rules and nuances that it won't necessarily send up alarm bells to an American reader, because I read stuff on websites that aren't written by Americans all the time. And when I find genuine value in it, it's never something I even think about. So you may be overthinking it a bit, but it is good to have those best practices in place so that readers from the US just feel comfortable, like they understand, and they kind of connect with how you're relating to them. All right. Please keep the questions coming in the chat. I have a ton of questions from people who couldn't make it, so I'll keep an eye on what y'all share with me here. And I can't pull up these questions on the screen, but I'll read them for you. So let's see. Nicola asked a really good question. What's the ideal blog post length today? And second question, is a short summary at the beginning of a post a good idea? Okay, let me take that last question first because it's a shorter answer. Yes. If you include a summary of what your key takeaway is for an article somewhere near the top, I think that is extremely helpful. I don't always do it. It depends on the topic I'm writing about. But if the subject matter lends itself somewhat easily to just providing a, one little paragraph thing, or maybe a call out box, something that visually denotes, hey, this is a summary of the article, that is traditionally becoming more and more helpful, I'd say. And the hope is that you can possibly get your answer swooped up into a Google featured snippet from doing something like that. So yeah, highly recommend. What's the ideal blog length today? Okay. It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is SEO and driving traffic from search engines, then long form content is, I would say, still king. But the super ultra long form stuff, say 5,000 words or more, that is much less important these days. If you can write a well constructed article that makes sense and more than just nailing the SEO best practices, matches the intent that that your target reader is searching for, if you deliver the value that they are seeking, really put yourself in the shoes of that person. If you can answer that question in the best possible way in an article that is, say, 1,500 to 2,500 words on kind of the outside of it, that is definitely all you really need these days. You can go longer if you have more to say, but I'd say keep a really tight focus on just delivering impactful value and not adding filler, not adding fluff. And when you're in the writing process, you know how that feels. Okay. Kenneth, we got another really good question. Do I have a writing system or process? And he adds a little more context here. Perhaps the fact that there's 1,000 tools these days makes it intimidating. I spend time researching the latest tools and get overwhelmed by them all. I can't seem to find a writing system to use consistently. Okay, so Kenneth, this is a great question. And what I would like to do is spend an hour on that topic in a live session. Even spending just an hour walking through my writing process will be tough. But to give you sort of a quick glimpse into it, we touched on it here today. These days, when I come up with a topic or I do keyword research and decide on a topic, I'll start thinking through a headline. How do I want to frame this post, this topic? Like, is it a how-to? Is it a question I'm answering? Is it a process I'm showing? What format serves the content best? Should I make a video first, talking through, my process, my tips, my ideas? Or should I start with writing? And so I'll usually make that decision based on gut feel, what feels right. Maybe it's how I'm feeling on this day. Do I want to be on camera, or do I want to just, be in my quiet little studio typing away? But I'll decide on the framing, the headline, and then I'll move into that outline process. So like I talked about earlier in this video, if I have a gut feel what the outline needs to be, if it just flows for me, I'll bang that out real quick and I'll do a little quick research, see what else is ranking on Google, see if I'm missing any big points that I should include in my article. But again, not doing that to copy competitors, just look and see, make sure that I'm not missing any big gaps. And then compile my outline, use free tools to do that, to fill in gaps, especially if it's on a topic that you're not super passionate about or super knowledgeable about. And then from there, once I have my outline, I'll write my first draft. And I don't always take it, intro to conclusion in a linear form. Sometimes I'll jump around to the section that feels like it's calling me. So if I have a particular section or header area that really is like just drawing me in, like where I'll have my fire inside when I'm writing or when I'm talking on a video, then I'll jump straight to that one until I finish the article. So it's okay to jump around. You don't have to write from start to finish. And then I do an SEO kind of read through, and I make sure that, using the free Yoast SEO WordPress plugin, That's a great simple guideline that makes sure you're mentioning your target keyword phrase enough times, and that you have some variations, some internal links, some external links. So kind of that SEO review is essentially the last step. I'd say I usually end up writing my introductions and conclusions last. I typically do the meat of a post first, especially if it's, an idea that comes to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's get this down right now. That's the kind of thing where I'll allow that to flow, and then I'll think about the story I want to tell and the examples and the key takeaways towards the end. And then the last thing I'll add on this, when I'm thinking through what this article should be or this video should be, if I want to create a free template for people, or if I already have like a template, a process documented that I can just share in a Google Doc, tie it to that article, maybe gate it with email or just give it away for free, who cares? Those are the kinds of things that I'll think through. So Kenneth, I will bookmark this topic. This is a great one. I want to do a full session on this soon. Okay, I see so many good questions coming in the chat. Let me hop back over here. All right. Bob, here we go. Which social media platform is the best for propagating your site organically? I use Facebook pages and wonder if paid ads are really worth anything. So are paid ads worth anything is the first piece of this question that jumps out at me. If you're not an established business with a clear product or service that you sell and you know your target audience, you have your sales process locked in, or people, already have a proven path of coming to a website, making a purchase, I would not do paid ads. I don't think if you have a blog, let's say, and you're boosting a post just to get readers to your post without a clear revenue event on the other end, I don't think it's worth it unless you just have a lot of money to blow and you want to boost your traffic from paid. But I would not do paid ads until you have a clear revenue event that you'll get at least a potential ROI. So which social media is best for propagating your site organically? It depends on who your audience is, right? So if you reach an audience of, say, people 40 and over, maybe 50 and over, I think Facebook is probably one of the best places you could spend your time on. And even more than just Facebook pages, think about groups. So joining topical relevant groups to the subject matter at hand that you blog about, super, super impactful. Make friends with the admins of these groups, contribute, deliver real value. Don't just spam it with links. Be a real contributor in these communities, in these spaces. And then eventually you'll find ways to, someone asks a question that you have a really good, genuinely helpful article or video or podcast or something on your site. Then you can swing through, answer their question and say, hey, I've got this full tutorial on how to do this if you want to dive further. And then you can genuinely share a link. So Facebook's great for, say, 40 to 50 and older. I think if you want to reach millennials, people who are, let's just say, 25 to 35, Instagram is still a great place. And then, the younger you get, then you're talking about stuff like TikTok. I think YouTube is something that spans all age ranges for the most part, from what I see. Pinterest seems to span all age ranges, skews a little more towards women than men. So there's all these little nuances. LinkedIn is obviously a great place for more business related content or, stuff related to work, how to improve in your career. If you're teaching career skills, something like that, LinkedIn can be amazing. So clearly the list can get long very quickly, but think about what your own kind of creative energy is derived from. If you like video, try out video platforms. If you like writing, try platforms where your writing will be able to be activated. Quora, Reddit, that we already talked about. Those are good ones for people who love writing and answering questions. Platforms like Pinterest, if you like design, if you like making images and graphics, you can go nuts. You can share as many images as you want on Pinterest. And often there's a really long-term benefit to sharing pins and linking back to your blog. So a lot to consider. Think about how you like to create first. and then lean into platforms where your own creative advantages will be amplified and where your audience spends time. Okay. Nightworker, here we go. Do you think the entertainment celebrity niche is oversaturated for the US audience? Gosh, you're asking the wrong guy, if I'm being honest with you. I don't consume much kind of like entertainment celebrity content. My hunch is that it is very oversaturated. That's just kind of my gut reaction. And more than just that, is it oversaturated? I think more about why would I want to create content in that space? And for me, those topics aren't connected to any meaningful why. So I have a hard time wrapping my head around myself even pursuing that. But if that's something that you genuinely love and you care about and you read and you consume and you watch and you want to contribute in that space, I'd say give it a shot. Just think about how you can uniquely contribute to those conversations. I think that's really the most important thing, because I see a world of crazy clickbait headlines and slightly misleading images that try and attract people from Facebook and different social platforms. And that kind of stuff turns me off. So perhaps taking a really genuine approach to entertainment and celebrity content would be a potential path forward. All right. Kelsey, thank you for asking so many questions. Do you accept guest bloggers for your sites if the niche makes sense? For example, my hiking blog. So Kelsey, if you've been to my hiking blog, you'll notice that I don't think I've published there since 2022. I'm embarrassed to say, even though now I live in Colorado, I want to get back to my hiking blog this year. But yes, I do. If I'm always open to pitches. If you want to drop me a line, ryan@writeblogger.com, send me pitches for any of my sites. Always open to pitches. My bandwidth for accepting and working with guest writers is typically pretty low. I have a lot of different projects that are taking up my time at the moment, but for a post that comes to me and feels fully formed and is a match for a topic that I want to cover, or like a gap in my keyword map for a site, and I think we'll connect with the readers who come, then hell yeah, I'm all about it. All right. Let's see. Rima. Okay, Rima, good question. Let's see. You have to know your customer. Okay, I agree with that. You got to draft your customer profile, understand who they are. How does this help you find your audience? Good question. So when you build out an ideal customer profile, let's call it, the things that I want to take away from that activity is really putting myself in the shoes of that person. Where do I spend my time? Interview people. Like, spend a day with someone who is your ideal customer. Once you figure out what that person looks like, how they relate to the world around them, where they spend their time online, where they spend their time offline. What are the hobbies, the activities they like to do, the communities they participate in? These are the kinds of things that allow me to, say, all right, if I want to reach an audience of, it helps a lot if you are your own ideal customer, or a younger version of you, let's say, if you're teaching a skill or a process that you have learned over the course of your career, or, a hobby that you've built, then it really helps a lot to either be or have been your own ideal customer, because you'll have an innate understanding of what those problems are, what those challenges are. And then other people who gravitate towards it, you just begin to learn more about them as you really dig in, have those conversations. But yeah, the key takeaway here is understanding what their problems are and how you can uniquely solve them or work with them on solving them. All right. Aha, Elaine. Yes, I had your question actually up next. So I'm glad you're able to join live. Thank you. Imagine you're an optometrist in a retail line. How do you position yourself on a blog as an optometrist? Do you think this area is too niche? Let's see. Not many topics to talk about except eyes. This is a really interesting one. This would be a fun one to do kind of a deep dive on, but we've only got about 10 more minutes here, so I'll be relatively quick and direct. So I don't think that is a bad niche. I actually think that's a great niche. And I would think about like how to really position yourself, topics to pursue. I think as an optometrist yourself, I'm assuming you're an optometrist or you work with an optometrist, but if you're an optometrist yourself, you probably have a vast library of resources at your fingertips. You have great experience, knowledge. You went to school, you learned a craft, and now you are practicing. So I would think about, the questions that your patients come in with. What are the challenges people have? Not just, how do I come up with a topic that'll bring me new customers, but think about the real problems and scares people have with their eyes, right? Like, I'm not an optometrist, so I don't really know what problems people come in with, but let's say blurry vision, right? Like, why is my vision blurry? Or how long does blurry vision, when I have blurry vision for a week, should I see a doctor? What does blurry vision mean? I think you could pursue a lot of different little niche topics that'll be, again, long tail answers, which is great because even though maybe there are only 50 people a month searching for something like, what does blurry vision for a week mean? That's going to be a great topic to rank on. Whether you're located near them, doesn't really matter. If you're delivering meaningful, helpful value on the subject matter, you can build up kind of a brand for yourself. Again, if you do video, sharing these videos online on social platforms, on your blog, really helpful way to engage and also increase your reach. So think about problems people come in with. Okay. Dapo asks, is there a downside to accepting sponsored posts from casinos? This is a great question. I get probably between 50 and 100 emails a day asking about if I accept guest posts or sponsored posts. And a lot of them are from what I call spam sites. So something like a casino site, I would personally not accept a sponsored post or a guest post from. I don't link to websites that are like gambling related. I don't link to any porn sites. There's a lot of somewhat shady SEO going on out here, and it's all a matter of what your goals are. Like if taking $150 for a sponsored post that delivers value to your audience and also somehow tastefully, naturally weaves in a casino link that you feel okay about personally, I'm not here to judge you. If that feels right to you and you feel like the content still delivers value to your audience, then consider it. But I, for myself, have decided not to link to those kinds of sites. I think Google can also kind of view you questionably in the long term, especially if one of those links is probably fine, but 10 of them, I don't know. 50 of them, I'd say is very not good. 100 of them, definitely don't do that. Okay. Here we go. Okay. All right. Awesome comments, guys. Thank you. If you have any more questions, please drop them in. I've got a few more here from readers who couldn't make it live that I'll answer in the meantime. Christy asks, is a website builder like Squarespace, Wix, or HostGator okay for SEO? This is another great question that I would love to do a deep dive session on, because the answer is very case specific and it always depends. And it'd be fun to just take them for a test run and do an experiment to really see. But from my perspective, I have played around with Squarespace in kind of the last year or so. I would say they're improving. They're getting a lot better in their SEO capabilities. Nothing, in my opinion, can come close to what WordPress is able to offer as far as the customizability in your capabilities to SEO optimize and use plugins and different tools in an ecosystem where millions and millions of people have built these kinds of tools and perfected them over decades, that's a really valuable thing that's hard to compete with. So like Yoast's SEO plugin for WordPress, it's free, it's great. ClearScope is another tool that I use for SEO optimizing my content. They have a great WordPress plugin. I don't believe they integrate with, say, like a Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, HostGator. And so the risk you run with these platforms is that when you choose a website builder, you're locking yourself into their ecosystem a bit. And then you become dependent on what their options are. So those options, I think, can be good, but they're never going to compete with like the open source WordPress world. But yeah, I can vouch for Squarespace as improving. Let's put it that way. Okay. What niches are easiest to start a blog in today? Khalid asks. All right. Khalid would love to see a video from me about blogging niches. Okay. Cool. So Khalid, I'll make a video for you on that topic. That's a great one. I would say rather than pursuing just a popular niche today, you know, you're highly likely to burn out if you pursue just something that is topically relevant today, but is not of genuine deep interest to you. So I think you're always best off to choose topics that you just find a deep interest in first, and then you go and do your research to make sure, okay, yes, there are, 10,000 people a month who search about this term, 100,000, a million, whatever it is. And when you're looking at these kind of monthly search ranges, you want to be pretty confident that there's an audience of millions of people who want to learn about this topic, get better at this thing, go deeper into a particular skill set, or, thinking about more niche sites, something like a food blog, right? You could have a vegan food blog, a gluten-free blog. There's going to be lots of different sort of niches within these broader categories. And I recommend choosing a niche that is interesting to you, where you are your own target customer. So you know where people in your space spend time, the communities that they interact with. That's always going to be a much better way to pursue how to choose a topic. Okay. Lisa, good one. Okay. How often should you update old posts? I have my ideal answer, and then I have what I really do. My ideal answer is that every quarter, every important post on my blog gets updated. Now, you can define important however you want, but traffic drivers, those posts with potential to drive more traffic. That's kind of how I define this. I've got a guide on my blog to content republishing. So if you could drop that one in the comments, that'd be amazing. Where I offer up a free template that you can use, and I show my process kind of more in depth there. But ideally every quarter for important stuff, and then at least yearly for things that may not be massive traffic drivers, but more of those longer tail opportunities. And then also the third caveat, whenever it feels right. If you have a topic that you're like, oh, wow, I think I should update that one. I haven't touched that in a year or two. Then I'll just go straight to it. So not being super rigid with it, following what feels right too. Okay. Andy, thank you for answering the plant-based grandma's question. I love this. What are your thoughts on working with Haro for building backlinks? Yeah, so featured.com is another one that Andy and I have played around with quite a bit. Help a B2B writer is another really good one. And actually, I have a video that I just made recently that's now in editing stages, where I walk through how to get links and submit answers through these different platforms. So keep an eye out on that one. It's coming very soon. But we also have a tool inside WriteBlogger that you can use free. I think it's called Expert Reply Tool, where you're able to pull in a question from one of these sites and answer it kind of real quick with one click, get an outline of your answer, then weave in your own sort of take on it there. So it helps you kind of scale the production of these answers. Okay, you guys, we're running out of time. I'm going to go a couple minutes over. because I want to answer one more question here. Let's see. Okay. Let's go with, how do I get more views on my YouTube channel? Okay, Stella, thank you for this question. How do I get to at least 5K views on YouTube videos? I usually have between 20 to 50, and it's getting frustrating. I hear you. I'm actually, to just be really transparent, I'm in my own journey of figuring out YouTube right now. I think I'm approaching like 4,000 subscribers. Most of my videos get somewhere between 100 and 500 views, and the occasional one gets 1,000 to 5,000, right? So I'm not a pro at YouTube, but I can tell you what works from my perspective. Publishing impactful content that looks good enough, sounds good enough, and has editing that is a little bit interesting, but not crazy. So I'm teaching myself all these skills. I'm learning with the help of, Andy, who is more of a pro with doing video content, the right cameras to use, the right microphones to try out, right? But I'm at a different stage in my journey. I think just starting even with consistently publishing good enough content. That's the way to really build up your audience and eventually get to that place where, every video you do publish does get a few thousand views, but showing up consistently. And that's another reason why I'm doing this F29 challenge, is to publish 29 videos over the span of 1 month, teach myself that this doesn't have to be that hard, that I can just do this and show up consistently. That's what Google really rewards, is consistent content on a very clear topic that you establish relevance and authority on over time. And then they begin to rely on you as, oh yeah, this person, they've got, 100 videos on their channel. We should probably prioritize their other content too. So being consistent in all things. Thank you all. This has been awesome. I have a bunch of questions that I didn't get to, so I'll do another Q&A very soon. And like I said, I'd love to do some really topic-specific live streams where we walk through a particular process together. You can ask me questions as I'm writing or as I'm doing something. I think that'd be really fun. So if you think so, I'd love to hear. Please pop in, give me a comment here on topics that you'd like me to cover in the future. Or as always, you can drop me an email. I'm just ryan@writeblogger.com. So thank you all. This is awesome. I really appreciate the great questions today, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.